What if your doctor told you, you've got 5 years left to work, and after that, you need to stop because of your health? No more salary, no more business income, just whatever savings and investments you've built up until then. Could you still maintain your lifestyle? Would you need 5 million, 10 million, maybe 30 million, or even 100 million? The truth is, most people have no idea what their real retirement number is. And here's the scary part. Many underestimate it. I did too, until I realized I was missing a few critical numbers that completely changed my target. My true number turned out to be way higher than I ever imagined. One of my biggest mistakes when I first calculated my retirement fund was forgetting to account for inflation. I only considered my current expenses, the number of years my investments should last, and the expected returns on my investments. With that, I thought the formula was simple. Take my annual expenses, divide them by my projected rate of return, and there's my retirement fund target. But that shortcut gave me less than half of what I actually needed. Once I reevaluated and factored in inflation, I finally arrived at a more realistic number. And here's the key. To calculate your true retirement fund, you need 5 critical inputs: your monthly expenses, current age, the age you plan to retire, the inflation rate, and the expected rate of return on your investments.
Now, here's the thing. Inflation and return on investment are assumptions. Nobody can predict the future with certainty. That's why it's safer to be conservative. Use a higher inflation rate and the lower rate of return. It's better to over-prepare than to fall short. So, how do these numbers really play out? Let's walk through 3 examples. You'll see how each one ends up with a different retirement target. Retirement planning always starts with your monthly expenses. Yes, expenses change at different stages of life. A single person might live comfortably with much less compared to someone supporting a family. While we can't predict every future expense, using your current monthly spending as the baseline is far better than pulling a random number out of the thin air.
Let's meet our 3 examples. Alex is 25 years old, spends 30,000 pesos a month. He dreams of retiring at 40. He has no plans to marry or start a family. And if he stopped working now, some expenses like commuting and work-related costs could even drop. Maria, 35, spends 50,000 pesos a month. She's aiming to retire at 60. She's a single mom, but she expects her expenses to go down by the time her child is independent and working. Next, we have Carlos, 45, who has household expenses of 70,000 pesos a month. He wants to retire at 65. With 2 kids, he set his retirement age at 65 because he expects his youngest will have graduated by then. Now let's calculate how much their expenses will be by the time they retire, adjusted for inflation. Because 30,000 pesos today won't be worth 30,000 pesos in 15 or 20 years. Prices rise, and this is the factor most people forget in their retirement plans.
Okay, so let's talk about Alex's case. He's 25 years old right now and wants to retire when he's 40 years old. Right now, he spends 30,000 pesos a month. Now, since he plans to retire in 15 years, we need to adjust his lifestyle costs to the future. Assuming inflation stays at 4%, prices will rise by about 80% by the time he turns 40. That means his 30,000 pesos today becomes 54,028 pesos and 31 centavos per month, or 648,339 pesos and 72 centavos a year in retirement. Now, Maria's case, she's 35 years old and retiring at 60. She spends 50,000 pesos monthly and has 25 years before retirement. Now, with the same 4% inflation, prices will rise by 166.58% during that time. Her 50,000 peso expense will grow to 133,291 pesos and 82 centavos per month, more than double. That's a heavy lifestyle upgrade in cost, even if her needs stay the same. Now, Carlos's case, he's 45 years old and retiring at 65. He spends 70,000 pesos a month and has 20 years until retirement. With 4% inflation, his household expenses will grow to 153,378 pesos and 62 centavos per month, also more than double.
Okay, so now that we've established their inflation-adjusted expenses, let's see how much retirement fund each of them needs so they don't outlive their money.
We'll assume they invest everything in Pag-IBIG MP2 for capital protection. Since future dividend rates are unpredictable, let's use two reference points. 6.16% average return since inception and 6.95% average return over the past 10 years. For Alex's retirement fund requirement, because Alex plans to retire at 40, he has the longest retirement horizon, 50 years if he lives until 90. He'll need at least 20,695,967 pesos and 40 centavos if MP2 earns 6.16%, 17,860,352 pesos and 57 centavos if returns stay closer to 6.95%. In Alex's case, his fund actually grows for the first 30 years because his withdrawals are smaller than the dividends earned. But by age 70, his expenses surpass his returns and the fund begins to shrink. If returns stick closer to 6.95%, his money could even last until age 115. But to be safe, he should aim for the higher target. In Maria's case, she plans to retire at 60 and live until 90, 30 years of retirement. She'll need 37,046,649 pesos and 86 centavos if returns average 6.16%. Her fund stretches a bit longer, lasting until age 96. She, like Alex, her fund dips when her withdrawals outpace dividend growth. But she still gets about 6 extra years of cushion if returns outperform the conservative assumption. In Carlos's case, he wants to retire at 65 and fund 25 years of retirement. With his higher expenses, you'd think his number would be dramatically higher than Maria's. Surprisingly, it isn't. He needs
37,451,914 pesos and 66 centavos at 6.16%.
His money could last until 94 if returns stay at 6.95%. So why is Carlos's target so close to Maria's even though his expenses are 40% higher? It's because Maria retires 5 years earlier. She not only has to prepare for more years of retirement, but also faces higher inflation on her expenses since her money has to last longer. Carlos's later retirement reduces both inflation's impact and the number of years his fund has to cover.
So, after all these numbers, what's the takeaway? Retirement planning isn't about guessing a magic figure like 5 million, 10 million, or even 100 million. It's about running the numbers for your own life, your lifestyle, your expenses, your timeline, and the silent killer, inflation. Alex, Maria, and Carlos each had very different targets, not because one was better at saving than the other, but because their ages, goals, and timelines shaped their retirement fund. That's the point. Your number is personal. If there's one thing you should remember, it's this. Don't underestimate your future. Inflation will quietly double or even triple your expenses over time, and living longer, while a blessing, also means your money has to last longer than you think. That's why it's always better to over-prepare. Aim higher, assume costs will rise faster, and expect returns to be lower. If you end up with extra money in your 80s or 90s, that's a far better problem than running out at 70. So, here's my challenge to you. Take a hard look at your expenses, plug them into the retirement calculator on the link in the description, and find out your real retirement number. It might shock you, just like it did me, but once you know it, you can actually start working toward it. Because when that day comes, whether by choice, by health, or simply by age, you'll want the peace of mind that your future self is taken care of. Your retirement number isn't just about money, it's about freedom and security for the rest of your life.